I remember the first time I realized she wasn't just my boss. It wasn't anything she said. It was the way she looked up from her desk that afternoon. Sunlight cutting through the blinds and falling across her face like she'd stepped out of another time. The kind of look that makes you forget what you were supposed to say next. Her name was Claire. Everyone called her Ms. Laurent in the office except me. Mostly because I couldn't say it without feeling it in my chest. She was in her mid-40s, sharp-minded, graceful in that quiet way people are when they've already lived a few lives. The kind of woman who didn't need to fill silence to own it. I was 26, 2 years into a job I didn't think I was good enough for, but she never looked at me like that. She'd ask for things, small, deliberate. Can you bring me the reports? Or stay for a minute. And every time I stayed longer than I should have. That day, she was standing by the window, watching the city below. Her heels were off, one foot slightly lifted, the curve of her arch pressed against the cool tile. There was something unguarded in that stance, the way her shoulders softened when she thought no one was watching. "Close the curtains," she said quietly, without turning around. The sentence hung there for a beat. Simple words. But her tone was different. Not a command. Not quite a request either. Something in between. I moved to the window, fingers brushing the fabric. The blinds clicked softly as they drew together, dimming the room until only the glow from her desk lamp remained. The sound of the city faded, replaced by the low hum of the air conditioner and the uneven rhythm of our breathing. She turned then, slowly. "I didn't mean to make that sound like..." She trailed off, eyes flicking up to mine. "Never mind." Her voice had that rough edge, the kind that comes from being too composed for too long. I smiled, trying to steady the air between us. "It's fine. You just wanted less light." She murmured, though she didn't look away. "Something like that." Her hand brushed against mine when she reached for the folder on the desk. A small thing, a second at most, but it sent a current through my arm, warm and sharp. She froze, noticing it too. Neither of us pulled away immediately. "You're quiet today," she said, breaking the stillness, trying not to say the wrong thing. "That's dangerous," she replied softly. "You make people curious when you don't talk." The lamp flickered once, shadows shifting across her face. Her expression changed, not flirtatious, not deliberate, just open. As if, for a second, she forgot to be the woman everyone expected her to be. I didn't know where to look. The space between us felt smaller than it was. Her perfume faint in the air, something woody and warm. She reached up to tuck a loose strand of hair behind her ear, but her fingers hesitated midair. A pause. Then her lips parted, as if she was about to say something real, before footsteps echoed down the hall. The spell broke. Claire turned toward the sound. Her voice suddenly measured again. "You should go. I have another meeting." I hesitated, searching her face for any trace of what just passed between us, but she was already straightening the papers on her desk. The distance returned, precise and practiced. As I stepped out, she spoke, barely above a whisper. "Leave the curtains closed." The door clicked shut behind me, and I stood in the hallway, pulse drumming, knowing something unspoken had just begun, and neither of us was ready to name it yet. The next few days, I tried to convince myself it had been nothing, that moment by the window. Just work. Just a routine instruction that my imagination had turned into something else. But then she started finding reasons to keep me close. Small reasons. "Can you help me carry these files? Stay after the meeting. I need your opinion." I told myself she was just being kind. She probably was. But kindness can feel dangerous when you want more from it. Claire had a way of looking at me that didn't match her words. Detached, polite. But her eyes lingered a little too long. She'd tilt her head, as if searching for something in my face she wasn't supposed to recognize. One evening, she asked me to stay late to help with a client proposal. The office was empty except for the two of us, the city lights blinking against the windows. She'd slipped off her blazer, her blouse slightly unbuttoned at the throat. Not carelessly, but like she'd forgotten to care about appearances. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked suddenly, eyes on her screen. "Regret what?" "Starting too early. Moving too fast. Working instead of living. I hesitated. Sometimes. But I think I'm afraid of wasting time. She smiled faintly, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. That's what people say before they learn time wastes you either way. I didn't know what to say to that. So I just watched her hands. The way her fingers traced the edge of a document. Absent-minded, graceful. There was a small silver ring on her middle finger, worn thin at the edges. You were married, I said before I could stop myself. She looked up. Once. A long time ago. What happened? Her expression didn't change, but something behind it flickered. He wanted someone who wasn't still. Becoming. That word stayed with me, becoming. She stood then, leaning over my shoulder to look at the screen. Her hair brushed against my neck. Warm breath, the scent of something faintly citrus, like orange peel and perfume. My hands hovered over the keyboard, useless. You're tense, she said softly. You're close. I didn't realize, she murmured, though she didn't move. I could feel her watching me, the rhythm of her breathing shifting slightly. The air between us grew heavy with everything we weren't saying. Then she pulled back, just enough. We should focus, she said, voice quieter now. We did, sort of. But focus wasn't the right word for what happened after. The words on the screen blurred into nothing. All I could think about was the echo of her nearness, the warmth still clinging to my shoulder. When we finally finished, she walked me to the elevator. No one else was around. The hum of fluorescent lights filled the silence. She reached out to fix my collar. A small, unnecessary gesture, her fingers brushing the base of my neck. There, she said, almost to herself. Neither of us stepped back right away. Good night, I said, my voice rougher than I meant. Her eyes flicked up to mine, steady. Good night, she repeated, then added softer. You did well tonight. The elevator doors opened between us, and for a second, neither of us moved. Then she smiled, small, tired, dangerous, and turned away. And that was the moment I realized. This wasn't going to fade quietly. The next morning felt too ordinary, like the night before had been erased. Claire's voice carried across the office as she gave instructions, professional, distant. The same tone she used with everyone else. Except when her eyes met mine. They didn't linger long, but long enough. A pause, a fraction too heavy, the smallest break in rhythm before she looked away. I caught that pause like a secret. By noon, she called me into her office again. Her desk was scattered with papers, her phone screen lighting up and going dark. She looked tired or maybe restless. Close the door, she said, not looking up. I did. We need to talk about the presentation tomorrow, she said. Her tone was brisk, but her hands wouldn't stay still. She kept adjusting her pen, her watch, the stack of folders she'd already straightened twice. Okay, I said. What about it? She looked at me then, really looked, the kind of stare that strips away everything rehearsed. You've been distracted lately. I could say the same about you, I said before thinking. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Then, instead of replying, she stepped around the desk, stopping close enough that I could feel the warmth of her sleeve against mine. This can't look like anything, she said quietly. Not here. I know. Then stop looking at me like that. Like what? She gave a breath of a laugh, the sound caught between frustration and something else. Like you're about to say something you shouldn't. Her phone buzzed on the desk. We both turned. A message preview lit up the screen. Dinner tonight? The name beneath it wasn't familiar. I looked away. She reached for the phone, saw my expression, and hesitated. He's just a friend, she said too quickly. I nodded, pretending it didn't matter, though the silence said otherwise. Claire exhaled, setting the phone face down. This is exactly what I didn't want. What? This tension. You, standing there like... She stopped herself. Forget it. I didn't. Instead, I took one small step forward. She didn't move. Her breath hitched just slightly, her hand tightening around the edge of the desk. I don't want to make things harder for you, I said, voice low. Then don't. But you keep Her eyes met mine, sharp, almost pleading. Don't finish that. Silence pressed between us, thick, charged, the kind that feels like gravity pulling two things closer whether they mean to or not. Outside the door, footsteps passed. Laughter, voices, the ordinary hum of the office. Inside, the world held still. She turned her head slightly, enough that I could see the curve of her jaw, the faint line of tension in her neck. I wanted to touch it, trace it. Instead, I did nothing. Her hand lifted halfway, fingers brushing against my sleeve. Barely, before she caught herself. "We should go over the slides," she whispered, the words trembling just enough to betray her. I nodded, but neither of us moved toward the computer. We stood there too long, both pretending to be the first one about to step back. Then a sharp knock on the door. We jumped apart. "Ms. Laurent?" a voice called. "The regional manager's here early." Her face changed instantly, calm, composed. "Tell him I'll be right there." The door stayed closed until the footsteps faded. Then, finally, she looked at me again. A flicker of regret, of something unspoken. "This can't happen," she said, almost under her breath. And yet, when I turned to leave, she caught my wrist, just for a heartbeat, before letting go. That touch burned all the way down the hall. It started raining late that afternoon, the kind that comes down sudden and hard, drumming against the office windows until everything else goes quiet. Most people left early, but Claire stayed, and so did I. She said we needed to finalize the report. We both knew that wasn't the reason. By 6, the building was nearly empty. The air felt heavy, electric. She was standing by the window again, arms folded, watching the rain blur the city into silver streaks. "You didn't have to stay," she said softly. "I wanted to." That made her turn. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because it sounds like something you'll regret." "I already regret not saying them." Her lips parted slightly. Not a smile, not quite surprise, something caught between. "You think this is simple, don't you?"
No.
"But I think pretending it's nothing isn't working anymore." She stepped closer, the faint click of her heels the only sound between the thunder and the hum of the lights. Her hair was slightly undone, a few strands brushing her cheek. Without thinking, I reached out and tucked one behind her ear. She didn't move, didn't breathe, maybe. Her skin was warm, too warm, and my fingers lingered longer than they should have. "You shouldn't," she whispered. "I know." "Then why?" "Because you keep looking at me like you're waiting for me to." That stopped her. Her eyes flicked to my mouth for a fraction of a second, quick, involuntary. Then back up. "I shouldn't have let it go this far," she said, voice barely audible. "It's already there," I said. "Wherever this is." She shook her head, almost laughing, but there was no humor in it. "You're too young to understand how much this could cost." "Then explain it to me." She hesitated, then turned away. Hands pressed flat against the glass, her reflection ghosted over the rain. "People talk," she said. "They'll think I'm desperate, or foolish, or worse. I don't care what they think." "I do," she said sharply, spinning around. "You'll move on from this. You'll find someone your age. I'll still be the woman who—" She stopped, breath catching. "Who what?" "Who should have known better." The silence after that felt like a wound. I stepped closer, close enough that I could see the pulse in her throat, the tension in her jaw. My hand hovered near her shoulder before finally settling there. Slow, deliberate. "Tell me to go," I said. Her eyes flicked up to mine, wide, uncertain. "I can't." "Then tell me to stop." She opened her mouth, but no sound came. I leaned in. Not enough to close the space, but enough that I could feel her breath against my skin. The world outside was nothing but rain and thunder. Inside, it was the quiet before something irreversible. "Claire," I whispered. Her hand came up, fingertips brushing my jaw, hesitant, trembling. "You have no idea what you're doing to me." "Then show me," I said. For a heartbeat, the air broke open, the kind of moment that tilts the whole world forward. She closed her eyes, her lips parting, and then the phone rang. Loud. Jarring. She froze. Neither of us moved. The ringing filled the room. Insistent. Relentless. When it finally stopped, she stepped back, breath unsteady. "Go home," she said, barely holding her voice together. I didn't argue. Couldn't. But as I reached the door, she said my name. Once. Quiet. Raw. I turned. Her hand was still trembling. "Next time," she whispered. The sound of rain swallowed the rest. The next morning, she didn't come in. No message, no call. Just an empty office, her chair turned slightly to the side. The blinds half drawn as if she'd left in a hurry. By noon, whispers started, the kind that spread quietly but fast. Someone mentioned a client dinner. Someone else said she'd been seen with one of the senior partners late last night. None of it sounded like her, but each word felt like a small, deliberate cut. I tried to work, failed miserably, and finally went to her office after hours. The door was unlocked. The air inside was still, her perfume faint in the air, citrus and something floral. Her coat hung on the back of the chair, one sleeve sliding down as if it missed her too. Her phone buzzed on the desk. A message lit up. "Don't forget we talk tomorrow. They know." Before I could make sense of it, the door opened. She froze when she saw me. "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," I said quietly. Her eyes flicked to the phone. Too late. I'd already seen. "Who's they?" She walked past me, setting her bag down, avoiding my gaze. "You shouldn't be here, Nathan. You're avoiding the question." She turned then, and for the first time since I'd met her, she looked scared. Not of me, of something bigger. "There's been talk," she said. "About us." "Talk." "Someone saw us the other night. They think—" She stopped, pressing a hand to her temple. "It doesn't matter what they think. What matters is that it could ruin us both." "I don't care about them." "Well, I do." The words came out too sharp, her voice cracking halfway through. She caught her breath, eyes glistening just enough to undo her composure. "I've worked too hard to have this become gossip. I can't be the woman who what?" I stepped closer, and she didn't back away. "Who loses control over a boy who doesn't even know what he wants." The words hit hard, but behind them was something that didn't match. Her trembling hand, the slight hitch in her breath, the way her body leaned forward before she caught herself. "That's not fair," I said quietly. "It's true." "No, it's what you say when you're scared." She laughed once, a brittle, breaking sound. "You think I'm scared of you?" "I think you're scared of what you feel when you're near me." That silenced her. The rain started again outside, softer this time. She took a slow step backward, but her back hit the desk. I moved closer, close enough that the edge of my coat brushed her thigh. Her hands came up, palms pressed flat against my chest. Not to push, just to stop the world from moving too fast. "You shouldn't have seen that message," she whispered. "Why?" "Because it wasn't about me." I blinked. "Then who?" She looked away. "You. Someone's noticed how you look at me. They're questioning whether you've crossed a line." The room tilted. She finally met my eyes again, raw, exposed. "If they dig deeper, they'll find the truth. And when they do, it won't just be me they come for." For a long second, we said nothing, just breathing, too close, too human. Then, slowly, she reached out, her fingers brushing mine like an apology and a promise all at once. "Maybe," she said, "it's already too late to stop it." And she didn't move her hand away. The next evening, I found her on the rooftop terrace, the city humming below like a secret neither of us could keep. She stood by the railing, wind tugging at her hair, her phone clutched in her hand like she couldn't decide whether to throw it or answer it. She didn't turn when I approached. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "Neither should you," I replied. She gave a small, humorless laugh. "You always think that's a good enough answer. Isn't it?" "No," her voice trembled slightly. "Not this time." The wind carried the faint scent of rain and her perfume. Both familiar now, both impossible to separate. "They've asked for a meeting," she said finally. "HR. About us." My stomach sank. "So it's true then. They know. They suspect." she corrected. That's enough. I took a step closer. What are you going to tell them? Her silence stretched long enough to feel like a confession. Tell me the truth, I said. She turned then, slow, deliberate, and the look in her eyes cut through every pretense we'd been clinging to. That there's nothing between us, she said softly. That whatever they think they saw isn't real. It hurt, even though I knew she meant it as protection. Is that what you believe? She looked down. It's what I have to believe. I closed the space between us until I could feel the warmth radiating off her, the tension pulling at the air. Then say it, I whispered. Say you don't feel anything. Her eyes flicked up, locking on mine. Don't do this. Say it. She didn't. Instead, she exhaled. Shaky, uneven, and I felt her resolve slip like a thread unraveling. Her hand brushed against my sleeve, then hesitated. You're making this harder, she said. I'm just being honest. I can't afford honesty, she whispered. The wind picked up, scattering papers from her folder across the terrace. She turned to chase them, but I caught her wrist. She froze, her breath catching as I pulled her gently back. Not to hold her, just to stop her from running away again. Claire, I said, voice rough, if this is going to end, at least let it end with the truth. She looked at me for a long time, then finally let the phone fall from her hand. It hit the ground with a dull thud. Forgotten. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. I've thought about you every night since that first day by the window. The words hit like a spark in a dry room. I stepped closer until we were a breath apart. She tilted her head up, eyes closing for half a heartbeat. My hand lifted, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. For once, she didn't pull away. This is the line, she murmured. If we cross it, we already have, I said. She laughed once, small, sad, beautiful, and rested her forehead against mine. In that quiet, the city faded. The world narrowed to heartbeat and breath, to everything we couldn't undo. When she finally pulled back, her eyes were clear. Whatever happens next, she said. We both walk in with open eyes, and for the first time it wasn't about hiding. It was about choosing. She reached for my hand, not trembling this time, and didn't let go. The meeting happened 2 days later. HR, 2 managers, closed doors, neutral tones. I waited outside while Claire sat inside alone. I could see her through the frosted glass, only her outline still and steady, the woman who always held her ground. When it was over, she walked past me without saying a word, straight to the elevator. I followed, not sure if I was supposed to, not sure if I cared anymore. We didn't speak until we reached the lobby. The rain had started again, softer this time, more like memory than weather. She stepped outside, tilting her face up into it as if she'd been holding her breath for days. They're moving me to another department, she said finally. No write-ups, no scandal. Just distance. I exhaled. That's their idea of mercy? It's cleaner than the truth, she said. But I'm tired of clean. For a moment, neither of us moved. The streetlight caught droplets in her hair, turned them to silver. She looked older than usual, not because of age, because she'd finally stopped pretending not to feel. I thought I was protecting us, she said quietly. But all I did was make you feel small. You didn't, I said. You made me want to be better. You made me see myself. That made her laugh softly. One of those laughs that almost breaks first. You really are too young. Maybe, I said, but you're the only person who never treated me that way. She looked at me then, really looked, and the space between us felt like it was dissolving again. The city sounds faded. Just us, the rain, and everything unsaid finally landing where it belonged. I stepped closer. She didn't move. Tell me this doesn't matter, I said. She shook her head. It matters too much. I reached for her hand, slow, deliberate, and she let me take it. Her fingers were cold from the rain, but she didn't pull away. This is wrong, she whispered. Maybe, but it's real. Her thumb brushed against my palm, tracing a small circle, absent, intimate. Do you know what scared me most? She asked. I shook my head. That you'd see all of me. The mistakes. The years. The things I tried to bury. I squeezed her hand gently. That's the only version I want. She laughed again. This time quieter, softer. You don't make things easy. Neither do you. We stood there, the rain easing into mist. She leaned forward, resting her forehead against my chest, her breath steadying. My hand found the back of her neck, thumb tracing slow lines along her skin. Nothing rushed, nothing to prove. After a long while, she looked up. Her eyes were calm now, no walls, no fear. Just truth. Whatever happens, she said. I want it to be real. It already is. And when she rose onto her toes, pressing a light kiss to my cheek, it felt less like a beginning or an ending. More like the first time something finally made sense. We didn't need to say we'd find each other again. We already knew. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?